Video games can be a rewarding experience, but they can also be a lot. All the grinding to level up and improve your build, tirelessly collecting some arbitrary item to get that last achievement, sometimes hours of internet research just to fully grasp a game's lore. Not to mention arguing on Twitter over what gender the Doomslayer should be. It can be stressful. Which is why I think it's essential to make time for games that provide simple, light fun, like hitting a ball with a paddle, jumping on a mushroom man's head, rolling a ball on the floor, quacking at people, or blowing stuff up in a slow-mo hail of fire, bullets, and blood. You know, straightforward, old-fashioned video game fun. The type of fun found in maximum action. What's up everybody, I'm Kirk, and today we are nosediving into maximum action to see if it's here to kick ass and chew bubblegum. But before all that, please be sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos that prove slow-mo will never go out of style. Alrighty, let's begin. Developed by George Mandell and published by Balloon Moose Games, great name, Maximum Action came onto the scene back in 2016 as a demo on Steam Greenlight, eventually entering early access in 2018. A year later, the game drew the attention of New Blood Interactive, who stepped in to publish and help develop the game. However, something happened, because in late 2020, New Blood exited the project, with Mandell set to publish the game alone. The immediate effect of this was the changing of the soundtrack, which not everyone was happy about. Nevertheless, development on the game remains steady, as a new update dropped just this last month, bringing with it improvements to the existing levels, a slick new menu with a bitchin' entertainment center, and various tweaks and changes all around. And with the new content, I figured it was time to give my thoughts on this neon-bathed carnival of carnage. The whole goal of Maximum Action is to simulate a ridiculous action movie, right down to a little cinematic opening featuring your custom character. It's a simple game. Get through each of the 9 levels as stylish and badass as possible in order to rack up the highest score, tabulated in the upper right corner. The crazier you play, the crazier the score. It's not a difficult game. In fact, a good thing about Maximum Action is how approachable it is. Any skill level can jump into this and immediately be gun-fooing like they can see the Matrix code. Challenge is not the top concern for this game, just making you feel as cool as possible, and having a whole lot of fun in the process. The best way I could describe the visuals of Maximum Action is cinematically janky. Welcome to this low-poly world of cinematic action, with simplistic-looking enemies, lots of flat, angular geometry for the environment, and flatter, simplistic backgrounds that stream in before your eyes. Ah, crap. Yeah, this ain't the prettiest game in the world, but what it lacks in looks, it makes up for in sweet, sexy physics. Throw a grenade, shoot it mid-air, and watch the confetti of shattered plaster, wood, and paper fly all around you. It's awe-inspiring. It's a low-budget world with high-budget effects, and while it looks absolutely absurd, it gives the game so much personality. I would crack up at just how over-the-top it was. And the way the environments look after you've had your way with them is just awesome. Light fixtures hanging and sparking, debris scattered about. Oh, I was proud of the messes I made in this game. It can be buggy, like this possessed door clipping in the environment, although you could argue something like this does add to the game's janky charm. Now, of course, what many players are now finding to be a downside is the game's soundtrack. It would seem the game's original soundtrack was the doing of New Blood, hiring DJ Hunter J. Pierce to compose the game's retro wave jams. But with them parting ways, the soundtrack was something the developer could not retain, and has since replaced it with generic tracks. So what did I think of this new music? Well, I did use the old tracks for this edit, if that gives you a clue. It's not that the temp tracks are bad, they just don't drive and complement the action as well as the original soundtrack. Here, have a listen for the hell of it. See, that's a pretty big difference there. It's a shame, but the developer is shopping around for a new composer, so hopefully we'll have some new jams to listen to in the coming updates. And fortunately, the music does not detract from the fun factor of this game. Each of Maximum Action's 9 levels is a generic representation of a classic 80s or 90s action movie. Neon-lit streets crawling with gangsters as seen in a John Woo film, office building rooftops that reminds one of The Matrix, and a jungle setting that brings everyone's favorite Austrian to mind. There's even whiffs of James Bond and Tom Clancy. Levels are short but sweet, lasting anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Admittedly, they're a little bit of a mixed bag. There are standouts like the restaurant where you can nosedive through a plate glass window, and Good Luck Parking, which is rich with explosions and shattered concrete. Whereas the jungle level is way too short and doesn't bring much to the table other than its setting. To be fair, all of these levels are in some state of development, so I can only be so critical. And the balls-to-the-wall gameplay makes even the weakest levels a blast to blast through. But I am eager to see some of these maps in a more complete state. A few of the levels end with a boss battle, which is an aspect still very much in the oven. The bosses currently don't put up much of a fight and can be annihilated gloriously. Minus a special attack like this chef ninja throwing butcher knives, they're essentially normal enemies with bigger health bars. Definitely an aspect I hope to see improved and built upon for future updates. Each of the levels also features a handful of unlockables, little statues that can unlock cheats you can activate in the menu, and VHS tapes that unlock levels for the game's endless mode. Speaking of endless mode, the game features a very standard but very solid endless mode, wave after wave of ever-escalating enemies. It's a great way to really put the mechanics of the game through its paces, and get a lot more combat than what the base 9 levels provide. A nice touch is the replay mode, which plays back your run in high-octane cinematic glory. Or at least it tries. Yeah, this mode isn't quite there yet. Very, very buggy. Although, once again, I can only be so critical about something that clearly states it's unfinished. A central mechanic of the game is bullet time. Yes, just like in Max Payne and Fear, you have a limited but generous, amount of bullet time you can activate to pull off some slow-mo symphonies. Complementing this is the ability to do dives and slides so you can live out your Inspector Tequila fantasies. You can also kick, which always leads to some good chuckles. Now, as I mentioned, this game obviously takes a lot of inspiration from Max Payne and Fear, but while playing it, jumping between these different scenarios and time frames, each with their own unique weapons, I couldn't help but be pleasantly reminded of the Time Splitters games, which had a similar setup. And hey, since level objectives are on the roadmap for this game, maybe the comparison isn't too far off the mark. Or maybe I just like the excuse to talk about Time Splitters. What's interesting though is that Maximum Action actually gives the player further control when it comes to the shooting mechanics. Firing an automatic weapon is business as usual. Hold down the mouse button and watch those bullets fly. But for semi-automatic weapons, they fire when the player releases their finger from the mouse. So essentially, clicking down pulls the hammer back and releasing it pulls the trigger. Hopefully that makes sense. Why is this interesting? Well, while in slow-mo, when you fire, that initial click will slow down time even further, allowing you to better line up a more accurate shot. What's cool about this is that it lets you put a little more thought into your weapon combos and maybe plan out how to pull off cooler action moments. Maybe while you're mid-air, you land a precise shot on a gas can and pepper the leftover enemies with the machine gun, or perhaps have an easier time shooting that grenade you just threw out. It makes the gunplay feel more tactile, and the speed ramp effect that comes from this makes the game feel even cooler and kinetic. I should mention, this extra bit of slow-mo doesn't happen for every semi-auto weapon. Basic pistols like the Beretta do not get this benefit. You like guns? Well, Maximum Action has guns. Lots of guns. What do you want? Pistols, magnums, 6-shooters? You like shotguns? What kind? Pump action, double barrel, combat? Maybe a nice machine gun on the side. Things that go boom? Oh, we got things that go boom. What about being sneaky? Because you can be sneaky too. for like a second. And all of these instruments of death can be dual-wielded, any combination you want. You want 2 RPGs simultaneously? Then have 2 RPGs simultaneously. Of course, the only downside to dual-wielding is that you can't aim down the sights. But you know what? This isn't really a shooter that's at its best when you're aiming down the sights. You can also equip the occasional katana, but don't get your hopes up too much. The katana is effective, but it lacks the tactile feel of the firearms and isn't quite as satisfying. The player can throw out an unlimited amount of grenades, which really give your eyes a feast of destruction. My go-to move was to shoot my grenades mid-air, which always put a smile on my face. The overall downside of Maximum Action, at the moment, is that you can pretty much experience all the game has to offer in a single sitting. Yes, there are more updates on the way that I'm sure will extend gameplay even more, but right now the only reason to replay is to beat your high scores and times, which is a lot of fun, but can only go so long before it starts to get old. Luckily, that's where the workshop comes in. A big feature of Maximum Action is that it allows players to bring in custom maps and weapons. The custom maps available now, well, how do I put this nicely? Vary in quality? This here is E1M1 from Doom, and you know, the layout is correct. To be fair, the map editor is still being worked on like a lot of things in this game and is set to receive more updates, so this has potential to improve. But the custom weapons are magical. You ever dreamed of dual wielding the shotgun from Doom and the shotgun from Dusk? Well, do I have good news for you. Or perhaps the rocket launcher from Quake and the flak cannon from Unreal Tournament. How about the Doom 2016 super shotgun and the pulse rifle from Aliens? Nah, let's get real crazy with a chainsaw and the Halo sniper rifle. Yeah, there's a ton of custom weapons to bring in from the workshop, and a lot of them are very well done, often featuring the right sound effects and close to the right feel. Some of the most fun I had in this game was just messing with stuff from the workshop, and depending on the gamer, this can provide several more hours of fun. I know it did for me. Yeah, that's the Half-Life shotgun and the Mega Blaster. How cool is that? As a gamer, I like Maximum Action because it's silly, fun, and makes me laugh like a crazy person. It's the type of game where I can switch off my brain, load in a Lego blaster and a Tommy gun, and have the time of my life. It's a good stress reliever, and a good stress reliever is something I always appreciate. But as a critic, I will say this. The foundation of this game is there. The mechanics are sound, the bullet time system is spot on, and the overall concept is instantly appealing. There's a loving community that surrounds this game for a reason. That being said, Maximum Action is a work in progress, and there's a lot of things that still need work. And frankly, what you get out of this game depends on how much you put into it. You can experience most of what this game has to offer in about an hour, and that's likely going to turn some people off of its $15 price tag. This is a cautious recommendation. If you're someone, like me, who likes the idea of having a customizable play place of FPS silliness and badassery, then this is something to check out. But if you're someone who desires a hardcore FPS challenge and a hefty amount of content, then I think this is one to stay away from, at least until it exits early access. Please be sure to let me know in the comments your thoughts on Maximum Action, and if you're currently playing, what sort of things you'd like to see fixed or included. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. It is a massive help for this channel. Looking for other games that feel like action movies? Then be sure to check out my video on Titanfall 2. I post videos weekly, so be sure to ring that bell so you're the first to see them. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.